This is the reading of the 27th gene key, food of the gods, city, selflessness, gift, altruism, shadow, selfishness. The programming partner is the 28th gene key. It's part of the codon ring of life and death, 3, 20, 23, 24, 27, and 42. The 27th city, selflessness, love, the new superfood. The 27th city is about as mystical a city as you can get. It is very challenging to explain this archetype in our common language. The knowledge that comprises the 64 gene keys is reflected in the substructure of life at a genetic level. Until humans fully understand the science of fractals, we will not really grasp the nature of the universe. Everything we look at is a hologram containing the blueprints of everything else. The current evolution of humanity as a whole is set to make a transition from the frequency of the 64 shadows to the 64 gifts. The highest frequency of the 64 cities does not really concern the current stage of our species and has more to do with our future as a consciousness. This is why in a certain rare humans, acidic state will spontaneously blossom, but cannot yet blossom among the totality. Those people in whom the city is made manifest represents a state that is not really designed for the current version of Homo sapiens. In this sense, all acidic states appear as anomalies rather than the norm. It is extraordinary to reflect that incredible information about our future hides within certain places in our genes. The 27th city is one of these secret places. In its present cycle, this part of our genome is dormant, waiting for its time. It is operating at a mere fraction of its full part of our genome. I'll say that again. It is operating at a mere fraction of its full capacity. In our current cycle, it manifests within us as a kind of deep unconscious yearning for harmony. The outer symbol of this yearning is food, which is why the original Chinese name for this archetype was nourishment. The fact that our current planetary evolution is built upon one creature having to physically consume another to survive shows our deep limitation. We are not a species that can survive without food, but in the future we will be. At that far off stage in our evolution, the true nature of our 27th city will become fully apparent. However, there are stages in our evolution where our genetics mutate, and each one of the 64 cities subtly shifts in capacity. We stand at the cusp of one of the greatest of these changes now. In the next few hundred years, the city of selflessness will become widespread across our planet. Eventually, the city will take hold of all life on the earth and bind it together as one creature. Although our current carbon-based life forms are not capable of sustaining such a high band frequency, this will presage, presage, the time of the ending of food and the dawn of what we now understand as immortality. The 28th city, the programming partner of the 27th city, the 28th city, the programming partner of the 28th city, that's weird. This will presage the time of ending food and the dawn of what we now understand as immortality, the 28th city, the programming partner of the 27th city. From where we stand now on the evolutionary ladder, this future stage seems like science fiction. When humanity stands in its truth, devoid of any sense of self, true planetary awareness will dawn. In ancient cultures such as the Aboriginals of Australia, ancient tales exist of a time when the awareness of animals and humans was indistinguishable, and we operated as a single unified field of consciousness. This is the direction in which our human species is headed. At a higher level of reality, we will, in essence, become extinct. We will no longer experience ourselves as a separate species, but will function more like the neurological network for Gaia, the Earth. By taking a walk through each of the 64 cities, you may see the pattern of humanity's eternal quest to meet its divine nature. There have been many different paths towards God. One of the greatest of these paths is the path of service, known in India as Bhakti Yoga, the path of compassion, also known as the doctrine of harmlessness. This 27th city of selflessness has manifested in the lives of many saints throughout history. This is not really about being a do-gooder. There are those who try to help others those that try to help others for the wrong reasons, out of the subtlest desire for recognition or to cover up their own deep pain. Selflessness is an absolute pure yearning to provide succor to others, succor. There is no trace of self-consciousness in it. Such people have made quantum leaps, and the citic energy available to them is enormous. They can work in situations that normal people would find impossible. Despite endlessly giving themselves to others, they don't become depleted, but are continually nourished by the refined currents of the aura of love surrounding them. The mathematics of love are built into the structures of all life, but only when we discover these laws will human beings realize their potential power, or their highest potential power. Inherent in the 27th city is the realization of the divine law of philanthropy, the love of humanity. Philanthropy unlocks the secret of free energy because it gives selflessly of itself, and it gives intelligently. To give without awareness is charity, but to give with awareness is philanthropy. The 27th city knows how to distinguish between that which is alive and that which is decaying, and it gives unremittently to that which is alive. At the citic level, the 27th gene key becomes capable of miraculous healings. As long as there is an ounce of life force within something, the vast love coming through the 27th city can revive it. Because the city dawns upon the entire bioenergetic field of Gaia, it has the capacity to heal any disease or sickness, so long as the indwelling awareness is aligned more strongly with life than with death. One other way of approaching the city is through the analogy of music. There are certain cities that have a deep relationship to music as the binding force behind all life. This 27th city concerns the music of the elements as they combine and recombine, endlessly feeding off each other. There are indeed precise fractal mathematical laws that govern the cycles of the elements on our planet, the way in which water and air combined, both through the global weather pattern and within the digestive tract and respiratory systems of all creatures, creates an exquisite harmonic if we could but hear it. To reverse an old metaphor, on our planet, love is the food of music, and it can be found everywhere. To those listening through the ears of the 27th city, this love is all they hear. One day, you too will hear this music. The 27th gift. Altruism. The pod mind. The 27th gift can be understood most clearly by observing it in the animal kingdom. Among the 64 gene keys there are certain gifts that have a close connection with other species. In the case of the 27th gift, the connection is with other mammals. This gift represents the communal bond that exists between members of a group or family or mammals. For example, a pod of dolphins, the 27th gift is seen in the pod mind, the invisible psychic force that unites these creatures and keeps them together. The pod mind monitors the safety of the pod as a whole. It functions through each individual dolphin, but is instantly communicated to all members of the pod. The nature of this pod mind is altruism, in the sense that if an individual member of the pod is in danger, all dolphins will turn to assist. Sometimes in mammals, an older member will even sacrifice itself to save younger member, thus ensuring the continuation of the lineage. At a higher frequency, this communal altruism that exists between family members extends to the species as a whole. In humans, altruism ensures our survival as a species. It ensures a happier, healthier life, even though it may not always be the life you were expecting. Giving from the heart can stir up unexpected cosmic forces that work to our favor. To give to others simply for the sake of giving activates healthy currents deep within your body. Through selfishness, you may acquire much for yourself, but you will not acquire a true sense of higher purpose. Purpose flows from altruism like water from a spring. It bubbles up inside of you, making you feel warm, as well as spreading this feeling to others. Another aspect of altruism is its ability to be detached. We have already seen through the Ring of Life and Death how closely linked the 27th gift is to the 42nd gift of detachment. The primary difference between the 27th shadow and the 27th gift is that altruism gives without expectation, as well as giving to cause that it will know, say that again, as well as giving to causes that it knows will be fertile. The repressive side of the 27th shadow, self-sacrifice, is about giving to the wrong people, exemplified in Christ's parable, the farmer whose seed falls on infertile ground. Altruism is actually a form of intelligence that knows through a vital connection to the group mind what is worth giving to whom. It does not feed victim consciousness. Essentially, it supports the empowerment of individuals through the process of deep communal bonding. The 27th gift's ability to give in a detached way also means that these people are willing to bend or even break laws of moral code in order to give to others the support that they need. When caring comes from the heart, it has no trace of mortality, or it has no trace of morality. When caring comes from the heart, it has no trace of morality. This kind of caring is akin to a parent looking after its child. And indeed, this 27th gift has much to do with the education and nurturing of children. Those who have children of their own understand this urgent That again, those who have children of their own understand this urge to protect their young at a genetic level. It is one of the strongest forces on our planet because it has such a close resonance with all life forms. This gift also has much to do with natural 7-year cycles. The 7-year cycle is the foundation of the educational and nurturing process. In human beings, this gift creates enormous genetic pressure to stay with your offspring for a minimum of 7 years. If you have this gift as part of your hologenetic profile, as a parent, you will actually cause yourself physical, emotional, and mental damage if you are not an integral part of your child's first 7 years of life. This genetic pressure is inherently healthy for the family. Even if the mother or father are no longer intimate, the child must become the primary focus. Each child needs the balance of both a male and female aura consistently during the crucial first 7 years of life. Everything in a children's psyche is forged in the first 7-year cycle. Beyond these 7 years, other cycles of imprinting do exist, but that stage is already set. Any child who receives true nurturing from both a male and female in the first 7 years will have a strong physical, emotional, and mental constitution. In effect, they will always have the capacity to find their own inner strength. Such a child is likely to grow up with an altruistic nature rather than a selfish one. Of course, destiny arranges all manner of events that may split a mother and father apart, but nothing is ever lost. The opportunity for healing a split in these first 7 years will always reoccur in your life at a later date. You may indeed have to heal your own childhood wounds by becoming a parent yourself. All relationships give us the opportunity to heal old wounds through sustaining nurturing. This is, in fact, the secret of a happy relationship. If you are not content in your relationship, it may be because you've not nurtured yourself fully. Every relationship provides this mirror. The true nature of the 27th gift is generosity, which is primarily about caring for others and for nature in general. These people can also make wonderful gardeners, since they have a natural connection to the cycle of life and the ebb and flow of nature's rhythm. This gift also has a particular soft spot for those who are weak or afflicted. It is quite natural for those with this gift in their hologenetic profile to find themselves involved in the service professions where they can offer nurturing to others. At a very high frequency, the 27th gift gives off a powerful aura of trust, which is immediately felt by others. Such an aura of trust often allows others to let down their guard and open themselves up to nurturing, sometimes for the first time in their lives. At a genetic level, the presence of the 27th gift engages a feeling of communal security through its strong resonance to the group mind. As such, it is one of the most powerful healing gifts in the whole genetic matrix. The 27th shadow, selfishness. The mathematics of love and selfishness. The 27th gene key is truly vast in its implications at a planetary level. It governs the structure of the food chain, the preservation of gene pools, both human and animal, and is key to understanding the precise mathematical laws that maintain an overall balance between the different species on our planet. It even controls the subtle shifts and changes underlying global climate and the weather. The ancient Chinese called this 27th hexagram of the I Ching nourishment with good reason. It represents a built-in planetary law that rules all sentient life. To give is to receive. Seen from a higher level of frequency, the 27th shadow of selfishness is a distortion of this fundamental law. When we look at nature through the macrocosmic lens, we see that all the different systems on this planet are interconnected. All life forms and matter, both organic and inorganic, are essentially porous at the subatomic level. There is entire mathematics of giving and receiving that unites all form and is primarily based upon food. We are using the word food here in the broadest possible sense. If you are a bacteria, for example, your definition of food might be anything from gasoline to wood. The point is that life is living chain of birth and decay, of creatures living off of each other and transforming one thing of death into another thing, birth. Say it again, of creatures living off each other and transforming one thing's death into another thing's birth. At the profoundest level, nothing exists unless it can be eaten by something else. We might refer to this principle within the 27th gene key as hologenetic. It is present in all creatures at a genetic level, but can also be replicated as a set of laws governing any and every system of life. In humans, for example, this law forms the basis thread of our morality, of what we consider good and bad. This 27th shadow of selfishness, in particular, is labeled as morally bad or undesirable. Through the 64 gene keys, however, all morality can be understood as simply the movement of frequency through a certain archetype. Seen in this objective way, there is no moral agenda. The 64 shadows are not bad, even though their external manifestation are usually labeled so. All forms on our planet are constantly evolving in frequency. So among humans, we see higher frequencies dominating in some places and lower frequencies dominating in others. Selfishness is where the 27th gene key begins its evolutionary journey in humans. The so-called selfish gene has been a requirement for us to survive, particularly for blood ties and close genetic groupings. However, selfishness must be transcended in order for the next form to mutate out of the existing form of Homo sapiens. This is how the mathematics of nature works. As the frequency within a species reaches its zenith, it pushes and stretches that form to make a quantum leap. For some time, the new form needs the care of the old form, even though, ironically, the new form will ultimately eradicate the old form. Selfishness, then, is a stage in our evolution that is in the process of being transcended at a collective level. If it weren't, humans would die out. This is not a question of morality, it's a question of evolution. When we look at our world today, particularly through the world media, we have a tendency to focus on negative aspects of life. That is due to the general low frequency of mass consciousness. But as a collective body, we humans have already ascended far beyond individual or tribal selfishness. The structures that we have built into our society create opportunities for so many more people to be fed and nourished than ever before. It is true that an enormous amount of the world population still lives in poverty and suffers from malnourishment, just as it is true that selfishness is primarily responsible for this. However, collectively, we have moved a long way from being monkeys. Even so, the current human vehicle is still designed for selfishness, and it is not easily suited to the higher frequencies. It is still relatively rare for humans to raise the frequency of their genetics even to the gift level, let alone to the acidic level. Thus, our species must prepare itself to make the genetic quantum leap, because that is the only way that it can truly transcend its built-in selfishness. By viewing selfishness in this way, perhaps we humans can begin to see through the higher frequencies of the 27th gene key. Selfish acts cause devotion. Say that again, selfish acts cause devolution, whereas selfless acts cause evolution. If we add to this further equation from nature's mathematics, we will see the twin binary of the 27th shadow and its programming partner, the 28th shadow of purposelessness. This binary coding leads to a dead end. Selfishness does not pay well, since it makes us imposters makes us porous rather than porous. In the long run, it closes down the possibility of our being nourished, whether by food or love. Selfishness cuts us off from the collective, even though it may ensure individual survival. In order for our species to take the next evolutionary leap, survival must become absolutely communal. As an aspect of the chemical family known as the ring of life and death, the 27th shadow reminds us of the cosmic forces of creation and destruction. Every shadow is destructive and leads to death, whereas every gift leads to life. It is only at the highest acidic levels that life and death are fully transcended. Each of the codon group functions collectively across the entire gene pool to establish a field of frequency that pervades and influences the whole planet. Because the 27th shadow is bound to the other gene keys in this codon ring, it is easy to see the true nature of selfishness. Through the 24th shadow, we can see how addictive it is. Through the 3rd shadow, how it sets us up for chaos. And through the 20th shadow, how it requires an abstinence of basic human awareness. Through the 23rd shadow, we can see how complicated selfishness makes life. And finally, through the 42nd shadow, how it is rooted in the false expectation that it will bring an end to suffering. The repressive nature is self-sacrificing. The repressed nature of the shadow manifests as self-sacrifice in the sense of giving away your personal power rather than giving from your heart. You give to others, but without any natural sense of boundary, which either leads to your being taken advantage of or to a feeling of resentment from the receiver. The laws of life state that there must be a mutually beneficial exchange in order for a relationship to remain healthy. The repressive nature is afraid of its own dark side and tries to gloss it over by expending all its energy on others. Such self-sacrifice also contains a subtle trace of guilt. The frequency of the giving does not come from one's true heart and can only be received in a manner in which it is given without real gratitude. Giving in this way causes more harm than good, because you inevitably deplete your own resources and gradually wear down your own health. The reactive nature is self-centered. The reactive nature of the shadow is about giving with an agenda and not about being purely selfish in the sense of holding back your energy. These people give to others in order to get something back for themselves. This kind of political giving creates its own aura of manipulation and encourages distrust. When such people give to others and do not give back what they expected, the latent anger of their reactive nature suddenly explodes to the surface. All reactive nature has this capacity to lash out at others. And the 27th shadow can often seem the most shocking because in the beginning it appears to be so generous and giving. This kind of giving comes entirely from the mind rather than from the heart. That is the reading of the 27th gene key.